we tend to have it fixated in our head that we want to have fun, but what does having fun even mean? A lot of those situations I regret because I was messing with people who wasted my time. Like, it didn't get me anywhere. When I think about what having fun meant, what does that really mean? What are we encouraging when we say that people should wait to get married? Hey y'all, it's your girl Tynisha Renee here. We are outside with it today. I'm really excited for today's conversation. I have my girl Shanae here. We gonna talk about some real shit. Some real We're gonna lock that out. And we gonna keep it real per usual. Shanae, tell them all about you.
Well, you guys, my name is Shanae Hylton. My brand is Keep It Real. I curated 100 questions that focus on relationship and dating topics. And if you guys want to see 6 individuals kind of hash it out about common topics about relationship and dating, then definitely come check out my page.
Okay, so today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Lori Harvey and Michael B. Jordan situation. And I know a lot of people have covered this on YouTube. I wanted to take a different angle just based on the responses that I've been seeing. I don't know what you've been seeing. But from what I've been seeing, my girl Lori, she is taking like several L's right now. Like, people are coming for her. And basically she is now representative of all black women. So people are basically saying that, you know, black women don't appreciate good guys. Michael B. Jordan should go off with a white woman or a Latina woman because black women will never appreciate him. So I wanted to kind of dive into that. Okay. So what are your thoughts on these sentiments about their situation?
Oh my gosh, Lord, baby, I don't know what kind of lesson the Lord is trying to teach you, to teach us women in the world, but honey, Michael B. Jordan. Lori Harvey got proposed to by Michael B. Jordan, and she then decided that she did not want to be with him because she wasn't ready to settle down. It kind of is a good thing that she decided to go ahead and say something now rather than be in a relationship and not be happy with him. But the sad part about it is what has foreshadowed on our society is that black women just can never have enough, and that at the end of the day the black man's still gonna end up with another ethnicity because black women are just too tough.
I think that one key thing is figuring out this whole dynamic where they're saying that black women don't like good men. So I just wanted to kind of reflect on our experiences, just like with your dating or things that you've seen with your friends. Do you feel like those type of patterns are true? Because I think that there is some truth. There could be some truth. A lot of it has to come with how confident she is within herself.
Yeah.
And I think that if a woman is not fully there yet, you know, with her femininity, or, you know, not confident in her womanhood, when she does meet a man who has all of these things, it's intimidating for her. So subconsciously she'll do things to kind of self-sabotage. I'm guilty of that. I have done that before. I don't think that, you know, in this case that should be representative of all black women, but I do think that there is some truth there.
Yes, there's a lot of truth and a lot of sad truth that we don't want to admit. However, we here to keep it real.
Accountability.
Accountability is key, and that's something I had to learn a long way. I feel like good guys always finish last. They do. I believe in that statement. I really, really do. And it's sad because there are a lot of good guys out here, but I don't know what it is. I'm not gonna only stereotype it on black women, but women, we just like that edge. We like that. We like that man that we could just, I told you not to do. We gonna snap at him or something. Like, I don't know. Like, we like that rough guy, like, that just sits there when you talking to him and he's just like not listening to you, like, I know you hear me. We like the man that we can get a little attitude with. Like, I mean, who wouldn't?
I don't like having attitude with my man.
I do.
Obviously sometimes you get frustrated. I try to be respectful, but
it's respectable, but I mean, like, just playfully, like, I know you hear me, babe, like, stop playing. Like, if we're arguing, like having like a little mini argument or something. But I feel like Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey seem like they're very playful with each other. I don't know, maybe it was intimacy, maybe, I don't know. Well,
here's the thing, like, aside from Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey for a second, I had made a video responding to a dating coach, Stefan Speaks, and he was saying that a lot of women, it's not that we don't like good guys, it's that the guys who characterize themselves as being good, they might not be as masculine as what we want. And so it's not the fact that they're too good, it's just like we instinctually want those type of leadership capabilities. We don't want someone who's like a pushover, who can't stand up for themselves. But in today's society, those are the type of men who are stereotyped or characterized as being nice or good guys.
It's funny because I met this guy and he was so nice. And oddly enough, I was like, this is too good to be true. What is it about this guy? There's something about him that I'm just not like too sure about. There's something about you, my boy.
I think that can kind of be labeled as self-sabotaging.
Yes.
And I guess the question that I wonder, and I wonder if you guys I ever think about this as well. Why do we do that? Because like we can mess with a bad guy and we'll know he's bad, like he's blatantly bad, and we'll still stay with that guy and try to change him.
Because
but then it's like we're digging for something for someone who's proving that they're good to us.
Because it's too good to be true, because we've been so beaten up.
So if he's openly bad, you feel like that makes you more comfortable to like stick with him?
I would rather you tell me your flaws than me have to find out about your flaws.
Okay. Okay.
Why not just tell me all the things that you're horrible at, or that what are your pet peeves, so I just know now, and to not act on it, or not to like be suspicious about your certain actions that you do. Why not just communicate with me and inform me about these tics that you've noticed or that people have said you had, so I can know?
So a lot of it ties into communication beforehand.
Yeah.
Which I feel like in their situation, because a lot of people were saying, well, how did she waste his time for so long? And in my head, I'm just like, well, what were the conversations that they've had? Because just from what we see in the public, it seems like she doesn't stay in relationships for long. You know, she was engaged before, it was like diddy. So like she's in these different situations. So I think a level of accountability needs to be on his end as well, because I feel like we face that backlash as women. So if there's a guy who is known for having a bad reputation, if we deal with him anyway, people will be like, well, you knew they were like that.
So another thing too that I'm thinking about on cognizance of the other side is, what if the bad guy has decided he didn't want to be bad anymore and he's actually good now, but people have always seen him as being bad?
Yeah.
And what if there's that one girl that just comes and changes his life?
That does
then how do you decide if you want to be with the bad boy that's now good?
It takes time. But then it's like, how long does it take? 'Cause they were together for a year. I'm not sure if I would say a year is a whole lot of time. If it was someone who, let me think about this before I say it. Hold on. If it was a person who was like a reformed bad guy, I feel like I would need a little bit more time to see them in different situations to be sure that I want to take that next level with them. Now, there's not a time stamp, but I don't know if I would know that quick.
I'll just give a gem away. So if it's a bad boy or a good guy, I typically take them out of their environment that they would usually go to hang out or something, and I would bring them to my environment to see how they would be.
Okay.
Or we would go to a new environment that we've never been to before, so we can create our own feeling or way of being around each other while we're in society. Because you know, I feel like sometimes people conform to like how their friends are when they're around them.
In terms of us, because obviously we are Black women, but do you feel like you have experienced a similar dynamic where you had a good guy, everyone saw him as a good guy, but something happened on your end where you just weren't ready for it? You wanted to live your life, you wanted to have fun.
Yes, I actually have a best friend. He and I tried. It was the most awkwardest and weirdest experience I've ever had in my life. We tight, we cool, like we vibe as friends, so we had to just be adults and just be like, look, I love you, kid, but not like that.
That's fair though. Like I feel like sometimes there are some relationships, and that's something that I've had to learn. I realize it's a complex with myself. For the longest time, I had to understand, or I struggled to understand, that there are men that you could bond with that are literally just meant to be your friend. But because I wasn't used to having that type of healthy relationship with a man, whenever I did have that type of relationship, I'm thinking romantic. But aside from a friendship then, if you were actually in a romantic relationship, so a similar dynamic to Lori and Michael B. Jordan, have you ever been in a relationship with a guy?
A Black man.
Are you asking like you're specifying?
Because
okay.
Yeah, because I'm just saying, because I know we're talking on the topic of our culture, our society, you know.
Yeah.
General. I'll stipulate it and say it wasn't a Black man, but I've been in a relationship with someone where I ended up moving, and he was an amazing guy, but I wanted my career, I wanted to build up for myself rather than being with him. So,
but that's interesting though, because I think that the narrative that's being pushed, at least from what I'm seeing, is that Black women treat men who are not Black better or differently. So in your experience, it sounds like you still had a similar dynamic even though the person wasn't a Black man. Now the
Black man, well, I don't want to make him look bad, but I don't think that all Black men, I gotta watch my words. This guy and I, we were in a relationship with each other for about almost a year and a half. We lived in an apartment together. After we lived in an apartment, I bought my townhome. And then we started to like go through situations where he was cheating, talking to other girls. I was flirting with other guys or whatever. And then it got to a point where it got physical.
So I wanted to pause it here because I'm noticing something now that I didn't notice when we were having this discussion. As a recap, the question was talking about an experience where you had a good guy. For whatever reason, you just felt like you weren't ready to commit. You didn't move forward. When she described her relationship with someone who was not a Black man, she was instantly able to say that he was amazing, but she chose her career, she relocated, and that's why they didn't work out. When she's talking about the Black guy, hearing her talk about a situation that seems like it was very traumatic, toxic, unhealthy, and then she gets to the point of talking about how they were in a good space initially. So I thought that was worth pointing out because it shows a couple of things. One, that there seems to be a disconnect with how we perceive love and relationship dynamics between Black men and Black women, but also it shows us that we might have subconsciously normalized this idea of struggle love.
As it pertained to us beforehand, when all this stuff didn't happen, like everything was great. Like if he needed something, he scratched my back, I scratched his back, like everything was great. Like I damn near thought I was gonna marry the kid and have kids with him. It just got into a turn of a bad situation where the both of us were not communicating properly.
So do you feel that the way that you communicate with Black men has been different than other races of men?
No. I treat all men like they're teddy bears and I just cuddle them.
Do you notice a difference in the way that they communicate with you?
It depends on the type of guy. Everybody has their own little tics and little attitudes, but my way of responding is I match energy. I really, really do match energy with people. Whatever you give to me, I'm gonna throw it back at you. I'm not gonna give it to you, I'm gonna throw it back at you. If you're giving me love and affection, like you're gonna get love and affection the whole time we hanging out. If you're being rude and throwing stuff at me and like cussing, I'm gonna cuss and throw stuff too. Now if it gets to like an escalated point where it's like, oh my God, y'all are going crazy, then I leave. Like I have to leave.
I guess circling back to the original topic of Michael B. Jordan and Lori Harvey, do you feel that an experience with Black women, so from the Black male's perspective, is different than dating someone who is outside of the Black community? Again, they were saying that, you know, Michael B. Jordan they wouldn't be surprised, or he should date someone who was white or Latina. Do you feel like the way that you love and interact with Black men as a Black woman is different than the way that other races of women would interact with them? Whether that be white, Hispanic, Asian?
I do think that other women do interact with, I'll put it in perspective. Like I've seen a friend of mine, she's Latina and she has a Black husband. Sometimes she'll be stern with him, or sometimes she'll be like really caring, like nurturing, like it just depends. And like my best friend's parents, they're both Puerto Rican. They were actually watching our episode that we were doing with the boys, and they're like, dang, she was like, dang, y'all are so hard on these men out here. And I was like, what do you mean? We don't want to go on a date to no Applebee's. Like, we want to be able to be treated right. She was like, but what's wrong with Applebee's? I'm down to earth, but I'm bougie down to earth.
That raises a very valid point that gets brought up a lot, though, is this idea of Black women being too picky.
Independently successful Black women dating. So that's something else that we can tie into Lori Harvey. She's an independent Black woman that has a choice. She had a choice to decide to do that. As men and women, we have a choice to be able to decide what we want to do in relationships.
I think another thing, and this just kind of popped in my head, I think that men aren't used to seeing women be able to exercise their options. Technically, what Lori Harvey did is what men do all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, they might entertain you for a while. If they don't see it going somewhere long term, then once they're done with you, once you want that level of commitment and they don't, it's like you're not on the same frequency anymore, so they got a dip. Now they're seeing it in the reverse and they're like, oh my God, but how could you do this? It's this great person who had all these qualities. But that happens to us every day. Like, there are a lot of great women, and if a man doesn't want them, they just don't want them. So do you think that we're seeing a shift now that women are obviously climbing the social ladder? We have more money, we're increasingly independent. Now we are kind of adapting those traits or moving in ways that men usually would, and it's not normal for them, so it's kind of throwing them off.
I think it goes into dating in the 90s versus this century right now. Like, I feel like real love don't live here no more. They didn't have technology to be making their minds go at such a rapid pace. So they took the time, to walk 12 blocks to go to their friend's house to let them know something, because they didn't have a cell phone to let them know.
You had to walk with the girl after school and ask for her phone number. You couldn't just hit her up on social media. So that instant gratification.
Or an email. They didn't even have an email.
I do want to talk about timing, specifically the age difference, because that was something that got brought up a lot. You know, people mentioned she's only 25 and he's 35. We talked about the male's response to this this whole situation. Some of the women's response was, you know, she still wants to live her life, she's still young, she's still vibrant, so on and so forth. I'm wondering if these are the right messages that we should be sending to people, because I think that Black women get these messages a lot growing up. Like, we are young, don't settle down, live your life first. And as I've gotten older, I feel as if I probably was steered in the wrong direction. I wasn't taught, okay, well, you can focus on yourself, but this is also how to let someone in, this is how you love a partner. I never got those messages. It was always just focus on yourself. And so now when we're approaching 30 and it's like, okay, everybody's looking like, well, why don't you have someone? It's like, well, you advised me to focus on myself first. So we're getting mixed messages. Just speaking to her, again, she's 25. A lot of people would say she's approaching the danger zone where she should be thinking about settling down. Do you feel that that's another difference between Black women and other races of women? The messages that we're getting growing up about when you should settle down?
Yes. I feel like it has been skewed again by society. Culture, there's different cultures that factor into this. Now, my response to whether or not if that is an okay debate to say she's too young to get married right now, no. That's not fair. Age should not be a factor on whether or not, if you've literally stated that you love someone and you're laying next to them in bed and you're like, yes, I see a life with you. And then when they're like, damn, she finally said it, I'm gonna go ahead and propose to her tomorrow. And then you come and you're like, wait, I didn't mean right now. That's not okay. So if that was her reasoning as towards why she didn't want to be with him was because of their age gap, that's not cool. She's wrong.
I don't know. I think a large part of this is kind of reframing the way that we see commitment, whether that be just a long-term relationship or marriage. Because my message is growing up, so my mother, she got married very early. She got married when she was 21 years old. And she didn't have a healthy marriage.
Are your
and
parents still together?
No. So my mom, she was married for 13 years. They divorced and then she met my dad. So like that, this is her ex-husband. And she didn't have a healthy marriage, and I think that subconsciously she attributed that unhealthy marriage to I got married young and this is why you shouldn't do it. And I feel like that's being passed down to so many different people, where it's like they might have had some traumas because the relationship could have been unhealthy for other reasons. Granted, age can sometimes be a factor. Like I totally do understand that when you get married young, sometimes you grow apart, you change to different people, and I get that. But I think that we tend to have it fixated in our head that we want to have fun. But what does having fun even mean? When I look back on my experiences, I want to have fun. A lot of those situations I regret because I was messing with people who wasted my time. Like, it didn't get me anywhere. So it's like, when I think about what having fun meant, what does that really mean? What are we encouraging when we say that people should wait to get married?
If you never experienced, or if I never experienced, or Lori Harvey never experienced all these different things, then we would never be who we are today to sit down in front of this camera to talk about some of our experience that we've had in our life. It's sad that this happened, but I'm happy that it happened because God has a plan for her and for him. And maybe whatever they're learning in this relationship right now is an attestament to the next relationship they're supposed to be with.
So lessons. And we're gonna step outside of Lori Harvey and just talk about Black women in general. Are we learning our lessons too late? Are we not receptive to learning things earlier on in life? And is that a disadvantage for us?
Mom, Dad, I blame you.
You did it all! Yeah, God damn! Generational curses.
Don't worry, kiddos. When my kids come into my life, you're gonna learn it all.
You're
gonna learn it all the right way. I don't know if it's gonna be the right way, but you're gonna learn what I learned faster. We ain't gonna talk about no damn birds and bees. We're gonna talk about dicks and penises, okay? That's what we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about the real shabam, okay?
That's the big thing. Because I feel like there's a lot of things that I wasn't told. I wasn't told most things, honestly. I feel like I kind of had to navigate a lot of things on my own. And I wonder if a lot of Black women feel that way. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where a common misunderstanding with us and Black men is, which Black women can be stubborn. I acknowledge that Black women can be stubborn. And a lot of women don't want to take accountability for things. But I think that it's just understanding the background of it. A lot of us are kind of navigating through this whole thing, through sex, love, relationships, dating, with no sort of experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're kind of flailing in some ways, and I think that's reflected.
It is.
And a lot of these dynamics that we're seeing today, and a lot of the conversations that we're having where men are expressing their frustrations with women learning things too late.
But at the same time too, men cannot always be so frustrated because they're supposed to be the man of the household. They're supposed to be the one to mold the way of the beings inside our home so that they can be the representation of how they want the home to be built up.
You know what it is though? Like, I feel like we are both struggling in our own ways, but I feel like we don't know how to communicate, but we're not understanding of each other's struggles. Obviously, from birth, the experiences that you have as a woman will be different from that of a man. But in our community, a lot of us are still coming from broken homes. So we're experiencing similar things. We might just respond to it differently, but it seems like we just refuse to understand why the person is the way they are. And that patience seems to be lacking a lot, which is why these conversations come up where it's like, oh, well, now he needs to date somebody outside his race because this one thing didn't work out. And it's like, but why? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Y'all got a lot in this episode.
Yeah, I think that we had a very balanced conversation, so hopefully y'all keep it cute in the comments. But as always, we welcome interactive discussion. Even if you don't agree with our perspectives, please let us know what you're thinking in the comments. Man, I tried to I asked good questions, so I think that these are questions that we all can reflect on, and these are conversations that I think are important to have, because I feel like one of the biggest things that I will say is that a lot of both men and women don't hold their friends accountable enough.
No, we have each other now.
Right. So it's like, if I'm doing something that's sideways, let me know. I need to know that. If y'all like these discussions, please let us know. But I think we're gonna close it here today. It's a lot to marinate on. As always, stay safe, stay blessed, and until next time, y'all, bye.